Picture this. You're trapped in the most secure prison in America. A brutal fortress, completely surrounded by freezing, violent waters, towering guard posts, and heavily armed officers. The odds of breaking out? Absolutely impossible. Yet on one pitch-black night, 3 prisoners just vanished. Poof, gone into the darkness. And the wildest part? Not a single body was ever found. To this very day, no one knows exactly what happened. So it begs the question, did these guys meet a freezing end trying to cross that deadly bay? Or did they actually pull off the greatest prison break in human history? Today, we're diving straight into one of the most incredible, enduring puzzles of the 20th century. 3 desperate men, a brutal environment, and a literal ghost story that just refuses to fade away. Welcome to the explainer of the Alcatraz mystery. Sitting right smack in the middle of San Francisco Bay was a facility feared across the entire country. Alcatraz Island, universally known as The Rock. Now, this wasn't just your run-of-the-mill penitentiary, oh no. This was the end of the line, the dumping ground for America's absolute most dangerous and notorious criminals. And the craziest thing about its security wasn't the thick iron bars, it was nature itself. The prison was completely cut off, surrounded by deadly, freezing, violently turbulent water. Officials were dead certain this place was escape-proof. They figured even if an inmate miraculously bypassed the giant walls and the heavily armed guards, there's just no way anyone is surviving those currents. And honestly, historically speaking, they were right. Many tried it, pretty much all of them failed. But then, we hit the year 1962, and the untouchable legend of The Rock gets a massive reality check. 3 inmates decide to look those impossible odds right in the eye. Frank Morris and 2 brothers, John and Clarence Anglin. Right under the watchful eyes of the guards, these guys secretly started putting together the unthinkable. You have to understand, these men didn't just wake up one day and make a run for it. They were terrifyingly methodical about this. For months, they obsessed over every single weakness inside those prison walls. They watched the routines, mapped out structural flaws, and found the blind spots. First, they spent agonizing hours slowly chipping away at the concrete of their own cells. Second, they managed to widen the ventilation openings hidden right behind them. And third, this is the brilliant part. To hide all that damage, they carefully painted fake surfaces over the holes. So every single night, there's this silent scraping in the dark. And every morning, the guards just walk on by, completely clueless. They actually took incredibly mundane, everyday materials and turned them into survival gear. We're talking stolen spoons from the cafeteria and homemade drills just to dig through solid concrete. They even managed to build a secret workshop right behind their cells. In that hidden space, they stitched together over 50 stolen raincoats to create a makeshift raft and life jackets. The level of terrifying secrecy here is off the charts. I mean, one single mistake, one dropped tool, one loud noise, and the whole shebang is over. Now, they still had one massive hurdle. How do you buy enough time to actually get off the island before the guards notice empty beds? Well, to beat the nighttime cell inspections, they got creative. They crafted these unbelievably realistic dummy heads out of soap, toilet paper, and paint. But here is the chilling detail that truly sold the illusion. They secretly collected handfuls of real human hair from the prison barbershop and glued it right onto the dummies. It was this macabre masterpiece, but it was absolutely realistic enough to fool the guards in that dim nighttime lighting. June 11th, 1962. After months of agonizing preparation, the tension must have been suffocating. Every stolen raincoat, every painted vent was finally put to the ultimate test. Under the cover of pitch darkness, they place those fake heads right onto their pillows. By midnight, they're squeezing through the widened ventilation shafts and crawling through the dusty, unused utility corridors behind the cell blocks. Then, in the early morning hours, they somehow climb out onto the prison roof. Finally, right before dawn could expose them, they slip down the side of the building, creep up to that freezing water, and just disappear. For the absolute first time in history, prisoners had breached Alcatraz. The shocking discovery. The very next morning, during the standard routine, a guard goes to poke what he thinks is a sleeping prisoner, and a fake head literally rolls onto the floor. The illusion is totally shattered. Immediately, this massive, completely unprecedented manhunt kicks off. You've got Coast Guard boats scouring the treacherous bay and helicopters frantically scanning the freezing water from above. Now, what those searchers actually found sparked a debate that has lasted for over 6 decades. On one hand, the evidence heavily pointed to death. They found torn pieces of that homemade raincoat raft and some personal belongings floating out in the deadly currents. Survival honestly seemed impossible. But on the other hand, they never found any bodies, not a single one. And as the years rolled by, these really strange clues started surfacing. We're talking secret messages sent to family members, alleged sightings all the way down in South America, and even a photograph that supposedly showed the brothers alive and well. But of course, no definitive proof was ever confirmed. An unsolved mystery. It's been more than 60 years since that dark June night. The FBI officially closed the case, basically concluding the men likely perished in the water. But experts are fiercely debating this outcome to this very day. Which brings us to the ultimate question. When you weigh the impossible obstacles of the Bay against their absolute genius-level meticulous planning, and then you factor in decades of strange, lingering clues, what do you think? Did Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers just drown in the dark, freezing waters of San Francisco Bay? Or did they actually pull off the ultimate escape and start completely new lives? Take a look at the evidence, weigh the facts, and decide for yourself.